Why? We hear you. Welcome to another engaging episode of Kinderfield, Highfield, Indonesia podcast with me, Miss Suci. This 16th episode, we are going to meet one of future leader in Indonesia. And I will ask her to introduce herself. Welcome.
Hi everyone, my name is Samantha Kirana Liem, and I am the former student council president of Highfield and Sawit. Thank you for having me here, Miss Suci.
Oh, thank you for coming, Sam. I'm so happy to have you here today. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
I'm cool. What does leadership means to you personally? Why you decide to do that?
I think from a pretty early age, since I was in primary school, I've always been really inspired by those who became leaders in our organization, such as my swimming club, the owners of the swimming club, how they would talk to us as swimmers. That would actually make me feel really inspired. And I would always think that even just being a class leader is already pretty honorable, because then you have all this responsibility and also a lot of recognition. And I think being a leader is something that you're not really born with it. So you have to actually gain this skill through experience. And leadership is not a one-type-fits-all kind of thing, in my opinion. Because being the student council leader actually made me realize a lot of things, to the extent of what all these members are actually still students. They're really young people. We have grade 7 members, grade 8 members. They're 12 to 13 years old. And you can't really expect them to do the same things that people in companies would do. So you can't actually become the same leader that a company leader or a CEO would actually be. And this was one of the things that really knocked me into realization, because before I actually became a student council leader, I read a lot of books about leadership. I used the school library for it because I was like, I really want to win this presidential campaign because I really wanted to be student council president. So I read a lot of books for it. But I couldn't really apply all of it into the leadership style that I used, because we're not dealing with the same people. We're not dealing with people of the same maturity level since we're in school, you know? But then that's what makes leadership really interesting. It's because it's like problem solving, and it's like actually in real life, and it's very engaging with people. Like, it's really figuring out who your members are, who the people you're working with are, and it's really a pleasure when they start to give you some recognition, give you some appreciation for what you've been thinking about. So I would say that leadership has been such a big part of my life, and I'm very honored to have been a leader for past organizations. Yes.
Wow, that's quite. It doesn't really make me speechless, but I got a new insight about you. Wow, that's so nice. Thank you for the answer. And from your answer before, you said that leaders is not something that you're born with. So it means everybody can be a leader if they want to. It means they can or able to learn from the previous leader, from their environment. So do you think it's important for everyone to learn to be a leader?
Yes, I actually think that, yes, it's important for everyone to try to be a leader, learn the skills that leaders have, because they could be very beneficial in their lives. Even right now, a lot of universities, higher educations, are looking for leadership skills in their future students. So I think this would be a really great opportunity for students to learn how to become leaders, especially in school, where they still have the supervision of teachers who can teach them directly how leadership could work. Especially the student council thing in schools could be really beneficial even for just student council members, not necessarily the president himself, but even members could become head of departments, and this could teach them about leadership as well, even classes, class leaders. And all of this actually helps them with, let's say again, time management in their lives, project management, and a lot of different skills that could be applicable to many various aspects of one's life, despite not being in an organization.
Okay, I agree with you on that. At least they will become responsible with their own life, right?
Yes, of
Okay.
course.
You mentioned before that when you want to compete in this presidential election for the student council, you read a lot of books and then you learn from other previous leaders. That's one of the way to learn to become leader, right? What about, I mean, do you have other idea that you think can be applicable for other students if they want to become a leader? What can they learn, whether it's inside school or outside school environment?
I think one of the most important skill of being a leader is communication skills. Being able to understand the other parties as well as understand yourself. And I think this could be done in a lot of ways, but one of the things that I did when I became leader was I went around my student council members and I asked them for feedback. And I asked them for feedback regarding their head of departments, regarding myself, and what could be improved. And I think this is one of the things that are important is because sometimes we don't know what our weaknesses are. We have blind spots that we can't see from in ourselves. And that's why it's so important to get feedback from other people to see how they think and how you are according to them. And I believe that this is a very important thing in leadership that everyone can do. You actually have to be a good person yourself first to inspire other people to be good. And that one of the ways you can do that is by asking for feedback, improving yourself through other people's feedback. And yes, I think that is my answer.
Oh, thank you. So it means being a good listener is one of important keys on being a good leader.
Yes.
Is that okay? And now, Samantha. Actually, that's your full name, right?
Yes,
But
Samantha.
it's so common to call you Sam. Have you ever faced a challenge during your presidential era that makes you feel like, this is it? Like, this is a really good lesson for my future or something like that. Can you share?
I guess one of them would be there was this one time where we had a really big event. It was an annual event, Sports Day, and it was a 3-day event. And my student council was a pretty ambitious student council, I would say myself. So everyone were brimming with ideas. So we had so many ideas. Everybody wanted to do so many things. And my SC batch in particular were all active members. They were all really outgoing and inspiring to me as well. And in this 3 days of event, we had 12 sports. And this schedule was very packed, and we had one new sport, which was esports. And esports had a lot of demand, but it was very hard to organize in school because we needed the PCs that functioned well, and we needed all the accounts and all the sound systems and everything. So it was a lot of work. And aside from esports, we had 11 other sports to manage in 3 days' time. And remember, this is an 8-hour day, an 8-hour time frame for each day. So we, at one point, I kind of got very overwhelmed with everything that was going on. And then I had 30 people as my members. Managing 30 people on where they had to go, since they were still students, so sometimes they were really lost, like, oh, where should I go? Where should I be? And that got me very frustrated, I guess, because I would be like, we're supposed to be doing this sport right now, but it's not starting yet because one of the other sports aren't finished yet. There's no members to supervise this sport. So I was really overwhelmed, and I started showing my frustration to the people around me. And one of the lessons were that this act of frustration, this feeling, this emotion that just outburst during the event impacted all my other members. They started becoming more stressed, they started becoming more anxious, and that made me realize just how big of an impact a leader's emotions could have on their members. You didn't you weren't necessarily mad at them, and there couldn't have been anything that could have done at that time. But then because I showed those kind of emotions right in front of them, they start panicking, and then things just went worse from then. And that's when I realized that, oh, I should actually be the one who's most calm about this. I have to be the one who's the most structured. I have to think, how do we find a solution from this? I shouldn't just panic. I shouldn't let my emotions take over my rationality. And that's one of the biggest lessons I've actually learned from my student council experience.
Wow. What happened on during that 3 days? When do the realization came?
I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was day 2.
Okay.
Because it was the day that we had esports. So what happened was it was divided into 3 floors, all the sports. We have the ground floor, we have the second floor, and we have the third floor. And I made sure I wasn't assigned to any one sport so that I could always supervise all 3 floors. But that also means that I have to go up 3 flights of stairs every time, like every few hours. And then it was really tiring. But then only on day 2 or 3, I think, we used the second floor for esports. And I was there for quite a while. And that was when everything else just started going off. And that's why it was hard to manage 3 floors at once. But if you can already have people assigned to each floor to actually supervise, it went great. That's what we did on the 3rd day.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you learned the lesson on the second day, and
Yeah.
so it means you closed the event successfully, right?
Yes. The event went well at the end, yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's good because you learn something from it, and I believe it will become one of the memorable experience that you will remember and maybe apply in the future. Thank you, Sam, for your enlightening perspective on leadership. And as we just talked about it, I believe you will reach greater result or greater achievement on the future. Whether what major that you will take on the university?
I'll be taking applied psychology.
Okay, that's also. I believe you will succeed there. And for all your friends that might watch, or maybe now watching the podcast, hopefully you learn a lot from Sam's experience. And if you are interested to become a student council member, or maybe you want to run for the presidential position, learn from her. I believe you can cut off a lot of things, and you will become a great leader on your own style, on your time. And this is another interesting, engaging, and of course, hopefully, full of lesson that can be learned by everybody who watched this podcast. Thank you very much, Sam, for coming today.
Thank you, Miss, for having me.
Best wishes for your future endeavor.
Thank you.
And thank you very much for all or everybody who watched this podcast. Stay happy and healthy. Miss Suci, sign out. Bye-bye.